Evergreen Dome is attached by a walkway to an artificially constructed mountain, Thunderbolt.
Researchers have discovered a massive stone wall deep under the Montana highlands, hidden for thousands of years. Over 90-ton blocks are perfectly aligned. Their surfaces are covered in odd knobs, and the entire construction faces the winter solstice. Some maintain that it is only the result of nature, while others speculate that it is the final remnant of a vanished civilization that predates the pyramids. What secrets remain hidden beneath the earth, and why was it buried for so long? Let's find out. Montana's hidden giant, a wall so large and accurate that it shouldn't be in this region of the world, is buried deep under the Montana Rockies, concealed beneath centuries' worth of fallen trees and thick soil. People characterized it as though nature had constructed its own stronghold when they first saw it. Towering granite blocks stretched in a line too straight to be coincidental, fitting together like a puzzle. How could a building like that stay hidden for so long? If it was constructed at all, who could have done it? Could it be that the United States has concealed one of the world's most significant archaeological mysteries? The story starts with two common landowners, Christopher Borton and Linda Welsh, far from expert archaeologists or a university-led dig. They made the decision to clear a portion of the forest that had been overgrown for what felt like hundreds or perhaps thousands of years on a private property in a remote area of Montana. They anticipated finding entangled roots, logs that have fallen, and possibly some boulders strewn all over the mountainside.
Was constructed with layers of solid rock, granite, covered with geopolymer concrete. It's a perfect example.
Rather, they found themselves gazing at a massive wall composed of stone blocks that were so big, sharp, and perfectly aligned that it was hard to understand. This was far more than just a haphazard rock pile or the typical granite outcropping found in the Rockies. An engineered-appearing wall in the middle of the forest was something entirely different, with portions of it reaching about 25 feet above the ground and a visible length of around 275 feet. The wall was already startling at first glance. According to later research, a further 15 feet of the wall might be buried beneath the ground, suggesting that if it were excavated, the wall's total height could exceed 40 feet. When viewed in its entirety, it resembles a skyscraper of stone rather than just a wall. Furthermore, the blocks themselves are hideous. Some of the largest stones are thought to weigh 91 tons apiece, which is more than 60 vehicles of normal size. The wall would nearly cover a football field if you line them up, but each block is precisely fitted, jammed up against the next with hardly any spaces between, as if someone or something wanted to build a seamless barrier. In addition to its immensity, the Sage Wall's geometry is what really sets it apart. The wall's constituent granite is an intrusive igneous rock that was created much below ground. It does not naturally break into tidy cubes or precisely 90-degree angles when it weathers and breaks. Rather, usually, it fractures along erratic lines and splits into jagged, uneven pieces. However, in this isolated area of Montana, we observe what appears to be a massive wall made up of big polygonal blocks with straight lines and sharp edges. It nearly seems as if the stone was cut deliberately, as if exceptionally skilled ancient masons took uncut granite and meticulously stacked it into enormous linear structures by shaping it into flawless pieces. Can nature even replicate the type of masonry that we typically associate with human hands? Many researchers and visitors were taken aback by the similarities. Stonework like this can only be found in a few locations worldwide, such as the Cyclopean masonry of ancient Greece, the tall walls of Sacsayhuaman in Peru, or several Japanese megaliths that have confounded experts for decades. The most common explanation for each of those instances is that humans constructed them using long-forgotten methods. However, no prehistoric societies are known to have mined, carved, and moved such massive stones in Montana. The story takes on a whole new level of intrigue when a structure of this size is discovered in the American woods. One of the most unsettling features of the Sage Wall is the strange protrusions known as knobs on the stone's surface. We have never completely understood the function of these tiny, rounded bulges that protrude from otherwise flat faces. Almost every significant megalithic site in the world undoubtedly contains them. The knobs at Sacsayhuaman in Peru are purposeful and unambiguous. Many of the enormous stone blocks in Egypt have comparable forms. Old megalithic constructions in China and India frequently feature these knobs. Therefore, how do we account for their presence on blocks that are purportedly just broken granite here in Montana's wilderness? Is this a remarkable coincidence? Or are we witnessing remnants of a building custom so ancient and pervasive that it crossed continents? When the landowners discovered the wall, they were astounded by what they saw. The building had been hidden for years by dense flora, fallen trees, and other natural obstacles, and soil buildup, making it almost imperceptible to onlookers. Only when the soil was meticulously cleared did the wall's entire scale become visible, defying simple explanations. Although some geologists promptly wrote it off as a naturally occurring rock structure, others were left with more questions than answers because of the block's accuracy, alignment, and sheer magnitude. Could this be the remains of a long-gone ancient civilization? Is it a component of a more extensive hidden complex that extends beyond our current field of view? Could nature itself have created one of the continent's greatest architectural illusions? Is there evidence of a lost civilization? Only recently made, this discovery has astounded both experts and explorers. It seems to completely alter our preconceived notions about the history of humanity in North America. For thousands of years, the Sage Wall of Montana has been concealed behind soil and trees, but when it was eventually discovered, it was more than simply an odd geological formation. Rather, it resembled some of the most enigmatic ancient megalithic constructions seen all across the world, the kinds of locations that have long been connected to extinct societies and inexplicable technical achievements. How can a Montana location be mentioned in the same context as the magnificent pyramids of Egypt or Sacsayhuaman in Peru? What does it reveal about the people who inhabited this area thousands of years ago, if that comparison is accurate? Michael Collins, the founder of the YouTube series Wandering Wolf, which focuses on researching ancient ruins worldwide, was among the first to thoroughly document the wall. He was just as shocked by his visit to the Sage Wall as many people were when they first saw the video. Collins pointed out odd protrusions, the knobs that sprout from apparently flat stone surfaces that resembled builders' fingerprints as he strolled along the structure's foundation. These knobs are not merely sporadic geological characteristics. They are frequently observed on prehistoric stone walls in China, India, Egypt, and Peru. The purpose of these knobs remains uncertain, with hypotheses ranging from symbolic marks to construction aids, yet their existence remains constant. Alarms were raised right away when the same detail was discovered at Sage Wall. Could it be that the same enigmatic methods that were employed on the opposite side of the globe somehow made an appearance in the American wilderness? Collins noted other oddities as he dug deeper into the region. The slopes seemed to be lined with straight channels chiseled into the stone, seemingly intended to regulate the water's flow. There were other wall-like formations in the area, some of which were remarkably precisely aligned, indicating that the Sage Wall may not be a solitary feature, but rather a component of a larger complex that has since collapsed and been buried by time. He noticed cuts and grooves in granite in a number of locations that were eerily man-made. These are the kind of traces you might anticipate from tools rather than natural erosion. A cross-continental culture, or at least at the same time as changes in other. One piece in particular, which was severely corroded but still identifiable, had a squared groove and a circular indentation, just like a stone from the Karnak temple complex in Egypt. Additionally, there were cup markings, which are tiny, round holes etched into the surface of stones. With specimens found all over Europe, Asia, and South America, archaeologists consider them to be among the earliest known types of rock art, having existed for tens of thousands of years. The exact purpose of these markings, despite some claims of ritual offerings or grinding, remains unknown. The patterns of cup markings at Sage Wall are remarkably comparable to those found at megalithic sites located thousands of miles away. The conundrum is further complicated by Collins' direct comparisons between the markings on the Montana blocks and those on the enormous blocks at Sacsayhuaman in Peru. Could we be witnessing evidence of a shared primordial past? Societies? When Dr. Samir Osmanagic, a Bosnian-American researcher best renowned for his work on the contentious Bosnian pyramid, arrived in Montana to explore the site, the curiosity surrounding the Sage Wall only increased. Despite his divisive image, he has a keen eye for irregularities and came to the conclusion that the Sage Wall was man-made. He noted that the wall's orientation nearly matched the winter solstice, a characteristic shared by numerous ancient megalithic sites, including Stonehenge. An orientation to cosmic events implies deliberate planning and cultural or spiritual importance. Osmanagic went one step further and proposed that the wall was built at least 11,700 years ago, predating the end of the last ice age. Accordingly, the Sage Wall would be older than Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which is already regarded as one of the 20th century's most important archaeological finds for changing our perception of ancient civilization. If Osmanagic's dating is accurate, we are looking at a building that predates any known American city and was built during a period when the continent was thought to have been sparsely inhabited by nomadic hunter-gatherers, according to mainstream archaeology. Would such groups have had sophisticated astronomical and stoneworking skills? Or does the sage? So, what are we really looking at in the hills of Montana? A natural formation that just happens to mimic ancient structures, or a forgotten monument built by a civilization lost to time? The Sage Wall raises more questions than it answers. From cosmic alignments to global architectural parallels, it challenges our understanding of who was here, what they knew, and how far back our shared human story really goes. One thing is certain: the past is far more mysterious than we've been led to believe. And maybe, just maybe, we've only begun to scratch the surface. Thanks for reading. Stay curious.